back to the MSI finals, you go back to Worlds finals, a heavily criticized player there, but massively the favorite going into the series, #1 in top all-pro here for LCK. And as we go into game number 2, we'll see if that Jace priority is the same, because in this first game, it did not work out.
It didn't. Here we are in pick and ban for game number 2. T1 down 1 game, but sticking to the blue side once again as the bans, they remain exactly the same as we saw in game number 1. K'Sante would come in and Elise to round it out, and then that notorious first pick Jace would be the next option, but no, the change-up will be the Rakan ban here for T1.
And who would have thought? Who would have thought that Rakan would be banned against Delight in an LCK finals after 2 years of Frederick Rion for Delight? Now in a Grand Finals for the first time, has an incredible performance here in this first game, and T1 respected.
I love that.
Do love this for 2 reasons. One, we know that Faker himself can play the K'Sante mid, so it is a flex pick. It doesn't give anything away in draft, and it also takes it away from Gen G. So starts off good here. I think the main thing that we want to see from T1 is adaptation. Not only in getting a great draft of their own, because I do think they had a lot of comfort in the previous game, but more importantly, denying it from Gen G. And yes, the Zyra Khan won't be given over, but yesterday we saw KT try to deal with this Aphelios a bunch of times. Is it Kate Lux?
Oh man,
okay. Aphelios.
How many times has Gumayusi Keria lost on Caitlyn Lux, gentlemen?
I mean, Caitlyn Lux is a pick that, or a duo that has given them so much success, and Keria's Lux, in my mind, has been his most standout pick outside of the AD picks that he had at the beginning of the season. His Lux has been phenomenal. Some of his best games this season were on this pick, so even out of the 2v2 lane, it's a high-impact player here. Gen G gonna leave the support pick and prioritize the Ahri once again for Chovy, so now picks like that Aphelios are likely to be removed, or rather, the Thresh for the Aphelios to be removed.
Also, you basically have to ban Lissandra here for very obvious reasons.
Yep.
Faker is exceptional at it, and it is the best pick into Ahri. But if T1 can't figure out something that can actually deal with this Ahri, I think Gen G might try to do what they did yesterday, where through Chovy being impactful in mid lane, the bot lane, even though the matchup in the 2v2 is very rough, can still salvage. And if they can salvage, and they can get to a mid game where they team fight, we've already seen they are good enough to match up against T1.
I think the Thresh ban here is just so obvious because it's so empowering for Ahri as well, because she can, with Banshee's Veil, she's already somewhat safe to dive deep as in Fish like Chovy has done. And they're going to ban the Malphite here. You know, with the K'Sante picked early, you're not as worried about this pick. But the Thresh is just so easy. If you want to make sure that your Ahri could dive deep and the Aphelios is going to be safe in a lot of these scenarios. But it looks like rather than that, they want more hard engage here, and they'll lock in the Nautilus.
Yeah, Nautilus going to come in. I'd actually already started penciling in the Thresh because Delight was so good at it yesterday in that final game. The Viego going to be picked up by Oner, one of his signature champions there in the jungle. And there is the flex of the K'Sante towards that mid lane. We'll see whether Faker can utilize this pick to nullify the Ahri in mid, as Cannon going to come through for Zeus. And this is his namesake as well, right?
It really is. Yeah, the Lightning champions, Jace and Cannon. Jace didn't quite work out. The Cannon coming through blind here. What is Doran going to pick? And it is, to me, okay, well, you know what?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's a decent matchup into the Cannon. Like, if it ain't broke.
It's so remarkable to me that Gen G are also recognizing how well Doran is playing by changing the priority that he's been getting in these drafts, right? He is actually the one that is getting counterpicked now. Now, it's just 2 games of Gragas, which I'm sure he's going to be very happy with. You were looking at the Cannon
Yeah, I was
mid.
like, Cannon support, Lux mid, K'Sante top? Like, what's happening here?
Well, what's really interesting to me about how Gen G played that last draft, it was the Sejuani that they constantly were able to set up picks onto. Faker caught a few times as well on the Veigar. But K'Sante is the only frontline T1 really have in this draft. Viego himself can be somewhat of a frontline, but isn't very tanky. And you've got a support who, if you lose control over the map, as Keria with this Lux, your ability to actually get vision on the map is so difficult, it's so dangerous, you're always going to be under threat. And we've kind of swapped sides here in a lot of ways about how T1 want to fight, because they need the hard engage to come through. They need the Cannon and the Viego to set up with this K'Sante. But as you approach, Doran can remove that K'Sante, pull him away from the rest of the team. You get that pick, and T1's composition falls apart.
It's going to come down to the bot lane matchup, because Varus, I know, is strong, but not necessarily a lane that was the hard stomp lane. With Caitlyn Lux, They have got to put down pace. They have got to put down Delight. Make sure that Peanut doesn't find an early angle, that they don't get put on the back foot. Because if a Caitlyn lane isn't able to snowball into, again, another hard team fight composition from Gen G, we might see a repeat of game number 1.
We could, however, this is T1 wielding the Caitlyn Lux. And you know what? I haven't seen a game where they've lost with this particular duo. That is because they haven't ever lost with this duo. It has not been figured out, that possibility. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the rift here. Wow, that was deafening. Gen G fans definitely very happy about the fact that they managed to take a game number 1. And Gen G fans, it's been a while since things have gone well in spring finals.
Yeah,
it's been 3 in a row that they've been runners-up.
Oh,
it's 4-0 the Caitlyn Lux this season to put the raw numbers on the table here for Keria. They have been by far the most dominant 2v2 lane in the LCK. You could say what you want about Guma's team fighting as he is vulnerable.
Oh dear, there's the flash over from Delight. The charm is going to land as well immediately. He's flashing away, his pace is flashing for it. But the Lucent Singularity, it's going to be enough to save Gumayusi's life, but not his flash. Pays had to use his.
And even though the trade in summoners is down, which is unfortunate for, possible punish here.
All right,
Oner.
let's see how much damage.
Fake.
He just clicks the blast cone.
Yeah.
That means that Faker might be able to zone.
Yeah, 100%. Chovy can't walk up. But as I was saying, the big thing is Guma can't back. And Caitlyn Lux starting off on the back foot is really big, but Chovy pays for it heavily. Not only does he lose his flash, but also due to Faker doing a really good job of zoning him out, he will be very far behind on experience here on the first few waves.
Yeah, lost 1 minion of experience, but those melee creeps, that's a lot more. So definitely very high value.
And the Aphelios here isn't helpless in this lane at level 1, has Calibrum and can kind of trade back some of this damage if he can avoid the Singularity here as he already has. And Pace is actually going to be able to get through these first few minion waves here a lot easier because of that initial trade. So while it wasn't a kill, not completely worthless as you were saying, Chronicler. And yeah, 11-0 on this pick here, career across the LCK. It's been one of his most famous.
Yep, and Keria alongside him on this Lux almost every single time as well. So incredible performances for this particular duo for T1. We'll see whether it's going to be enough to claw them back into this series as, this win rate also relatively high as there's a reason why we saw the Cassante banned away and first picked here in Game 1 and then here in Game 2 respectively.
A lot of prio on this. Now what's really interesting about this matchup is that Chovy was the one who pioneered the mid Cassante and has beaten Ahri in lane in particular in this very matchup many times. Now he'll be on the other side of the coin here playing the Ahri into the Cassante and already on the back foot because of that early level 1. We'll see how he does outside of these first few levels.
Also cool adaptation here from Faker, going for the Aftershocks as opposed to Grasp. We've seen a lot of mid Cassante still go Grasp, but into the Ahri, if they space well, which with Chovy you're going to expect, actually getting Grasp procs will be fairly negligible, so not going to be the case here. And Delight might be looking for something, but with Oner's mist showing, I don't think they're going to go for anything. But what's big here is...
Oh, Peanut. Not going to be able to steal that one away. As he gets into position, Ward goes down. Not actually scried or anything like that. Let's see whether Peanut can find himself an angle. He was looking for that counter gank opportunity.
Hard to pre-6, especially with this Reg missing, and this means he might get double scuttle.
Life Binding comes in immediately. The cleanse has to be used. The trap was down. Definitely a great reason to use that summoner spell immediately, but now Pays in a very rough spot, and Gumayusi Keria bearing down on them.
And this is with Guma losing a flash and half his health bar. Level 1. Like, he was sipping potions, but still he wasn't sitting on a whole lot of health. And once you get to 6, the matchup really changes because you have so much more all-in potential. With particularly if Nautilus has flash, you can layer the ultimates. You have a lot of damage there, but you need to get there. And really well done by Guma and Keria to regain control of this lane. And for FaZe and Delight, even in a scenario as good as that one, actually getting an advantage, still not going to be able to. But if they can get to 6 while dropping minimal waves and dropping minimal plates, would still be a win for them.
Now, Doran has been having a really tough time in this top matchup as well. He's nearly 20 CS behind, out of mana here. And he's stopped on his back, so he's going to have to stay here because he doesn't want to miss these minions, but it's very difficult for him to CS them. And Oner, like I was mentioning, very likely to get double scuttle because of this attempt here from Peanut pre-6 bottom side. He has total map control here because of this top prio for Zeus, who's not reliant on a mana bar. He's a ranged matchup here into Doran, so Doran has to teleport early, and Zeus is just sitting pretty here on the top side of the map with the Doran's ring, or Doran's blade rather. And so T1 with some really nice early game advantages here at 5 minutes, already stacking a 700 gold lead.
Yeah, absolutely amazing stuff here for T1 thus far in the early game. We'll see whether Gen.G have any surprises for us or whether this is just going to be, once again, business as usual for T1. They can play out games so well with these early leads. We've seen it so many times. And 100% win rate for this man's cannon on the top side of the map. There's a reason why his name looks like Zeus. Gentlemen?
He's also got early Sork shoes here. Decides he does want to back. Has just enough money to buy them here early. And in an early game against a Gragas, those resistances will mean a lot less when you actually have this early buy.
Delight relatively far up. Also do note Pays also going for boots first. Generally we don't see that, but into Cade Lux. Gonna use the movement speed as Guma.
Oh dear, Delight, he's just gonna flash on him, finds the hook there as well. Flash out immediately as Pays. Not gonna find too much of the damage. Once again, Gumayusi limps away, but he gets the cannon.
Yeah, nigh unkillable here on the bottom side of the map. This guy is now...
He gets the cannon!
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's what matters.
I saw that and it sort of took over my brain for a moment there. We're pretty cannon focused here in the LCK. You'll have to bear with me.
Ooh. And do note, that's Guma's flash gone on cooldown, and now the 6 for Pace, Delight, and Peanut. Very scary. Oner knows this, though. He's going to clear the ward, and if they can get a kill on Pace, it would be huge.
Yeah, Peanut getting into position as well. So a 3v3 here on this bottom side. No flash on Gumayusi, though, and Pace has his back available. That is the big difference maker in this situation. And stopping Gumayusi and Keria from being able to take plates is the biggest thing. They've already managed to take one, as now Peanut getting aggressed on by Oner. There's the Conqueror proc as well. So he'll have to use that Blast Cone to get himself out of dodge. And Wukong not able to fight against this Viego early on.
Yeah, didn't have Warrior's Trickster and just had to take the damage there to get away, losing all of his health. And this means that T1, with the prio they already have in bottom side, despite 2 attempts on Guma's life here, they're going to be able to take the first break. Faker also holding that mid prio, and these small exchanges, these small attempts from Gen.G, failing repeatedly, starting to stack up in the gold. The double scuttle, the top side prio, no assistance from Peanut in the top side because you don't have prio top, you don't have prio bottom. He has to be bottom side to keep his lane alive so he can stay relevant. They're still down 10 CS. You're down 30 CS on the top side of the map. Drake goes over, double scuttle, and just like that, 2,000 gold lead here, nearly 2,000, or sorry, 1,500, nearly 2,000 gold lead here for T1.
And what's really big is I think T1 playing it out a lot more calmly than in game number 1, where right, like they went for the early dive, they went in with these really big aggressive plays when they didn't necessarily need to. As he's hidden.
Yeah, level 7 is Doran going to find himself the Lightning Mouse, but Chovy, he's going to move in. Means man advantage here towards his top side as T1 a little bit late on the rotation. We'll see whether Gen.G can lock this one down before everyone turns up. And it looks like the answer's yes. Jelly gets her eye poked multiple times. The eye, though, collecting it, going to be a difficulty as Chovy going to try and get himself out. Ace in the hole comes through. That is first blood. Going to the Viego. Was it worth it is the question. As Zeus is going to go down as well. Peanut flashes to safety, but Oner is going to pick him off. Keria awarded with the kill. A 2-for-1 in the end, but Herald goes to Gen.G. So I guess the exchange is somewhat even, but it doesn't feel like it here as T1 in so much control this game.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be worth it. If Chovy gets out there, I think you're not going to feel too bad about it, but that's not the case. Kill going over to Oner as...
Doran? Okay, well, Oner is taking a lot of damage here. There's the cast. Oner doesn't have any mist remaining. And there's the boop with the barrel. As solo kill as Delight is in trouble as well. Gumayusi, he's not to be messed with here.
Okay, I'm sorry, Doran. I'm sorry. I won't doubt you anymore.
Yeah, no, never again.
We know. Yeah, we get it. When you go in and Gragas, he'll get it done. As
congratulations to Peanut.
1,500 kills here. Now, feels like a consolation prize here in a series in a game state where you're not ahead. But if we go back to this skirmish here, where you have, as T1 here, so much team fight power in this cannon early, who's holding flash, and while the Herald is secured here, getting the eye is a completely different story. Chovy picks it up, but look at how much power you have with the Viego and the cannon ult setup. And yeah, kills going over here for Gen G, but Peanut loses both his life and flash, and subsequently map control.
You also see like the perfect lineup there, right? With the cannon ult being right as big as Doran. Yeah, he just
also got the drugs. And now he's out of mana, but he gets a blue buff? What?
Small victory here, but still, you'll take it. You're 30 CS down. You have been for a while, and that is some extra gold. It's going to push you to your catalyst at least. It's going to make you a little bit, you know, better in this laning phase, but you're just getting pushed in non-stop. And Zeus, it looks like he took game one personally with how much control he's put into this one. And Doran, can he survive this lane? Yes. Will he make the same impact he made in game one? With the gold state he's in, very unlikely. But Gragas will still do Gragas things later on in the game. I think now a lot more responsibility on Peanut and Chovy.
And as I was mentioning before the Herald fight, what I like from T1 is that they kind of have calmed down after what was a very eventful early game in game number one, and having trust in their laning, because their laning has been one of the big reasons why they've been so hard to crack in the LCK. And, you know, AD carry supports might not be quite at the same level as they were before, but Caitlyn Lux, effectively the same thing, and we see immediately how much more comfortable they slot into the role that they have.
Whoa, that's a flash forward from Keria, looking for that light binding, gets the flash out of Doran, and more plates for Gumayusi. They're trying to trade them as Crescendum is there for pays, but the rest of T1 are going to turn up. Chovy trying to even it out here for Gen G by picking up plates in mid, and say they want them on the Aphelios.
Say what you will about Doran's performances on a lot of different picks, but when he's on the Gragas, even down on CS, he's going to be the one who absorbs the pressure.
Hook is going to connect here as they knock off Oner. He's in the bouncy castle forever. The Heartseeker is not enough.
And on three places on the map, they're winning out. Yeah, Doran is losing some plates here, but he's going to be able to keep this turret alive. They're getting plates topside. Chovy got plates mid. They get a kill. Jungler's removed. And Gen G still behind in gold here, but they are really turning this one around.
And what's really big here is there's no Crescendum anymore, because otherwise they might just get first turbo right off that Zeus.
Well, Moonlight Vigil comes down. Zeus looking for even more. Grabbing him. Not going to be snaring Zeus just yet, but with Delight lurking, that is more plates going over to Gen G and to Pays in particular.
They might still get that first turret blood regardless here. Zeus is just zoned out.
This is not the Gen G we were expecting here today, as it looks like this turret is not going to fall in its entirety. But still, Gen G getting control back in this game. Of course, by no means is this one over for T1, as Faker is going to be slowed down. The mid game is still going to be powerful, but that Caitlyn issue that we've talked about so many times, she still does have that trough. She still relies on snowballing the game. And yes, they've got a bunch of plates into Gumayusi. He has his Gale Force available, an item lead over Pays. Doran is going to be able to take control of this dragon.
Faker's backing and they know it.
TP's there for Zeus,
but not unleashed.
All right, that first teleport. This dragon going down very, very low as Chovy finds the charm. It is onto the jungler. They secure the Drake because of it. Warrior Trickster going to be used as, oh, Peanut! Just outplaying here, but he is still going to be moved back by the Q. Has to flash to get himself out as Faker's still looking for even more. And Doran, with that barrel in position, they are going to be able to complete the heist.
Heist successful. Chovy hits the crucial charm.
Oh,
Oner steals those. Oh, they know.
That is so much value. The light binding comes in. Peanut going to get out as, oh, okay, there it is, the final spot. Oh, what the heck, Peanut? That was so silly. As now Zeus should be able to punish Delight, but he flashes. Pays flush down the kill, and a flash comes out as well. As now Chovy, he's looking for the charm. He does find it, but it's not enough to save Pays, but still, Zeus is going to go down.
What am I watching? A series of outplays here going over from Gen G, but this just stems the bleeding, because at the end of the day, T1 still with the gold lead here. They are going to pick up first turret blood, but it could have been a lot worse.
If they don't get that first turret blood, it actually would have been a bit of a disaster. That made sure that they're still ahead in gold, but the skirmishes are going Gen G's way, and that's something that I think if you're a T1 fan is going to worry you, because Gen G's team fighting composition again is incredible. And Look at that soul. That's a Hextech soul, so every single Drake is going to matter. And man, Delight and Doran, between the first few rounds of playoffs and now could not look more different.
Oh no, definitely not.
The confidence that these players are moving across the map with as Peanut sneaking suspicion here.
Doran, so calm too, holds the recall, and we'll get it off. Peanut sets up the second knock-up here, calling out that he has no flash, and then they re-engage here with Pays. And yeah, there are casualties here on the side of Gen.G, and the turret will go down. But it's a worrying sign for how these fights are going to go later on, because in the early game here, this is not a Fed Aphelios, this is not a Gragas with more items, and Chovy with agency later on. If this continues to go like this, the gold lead won't matter when we get to 30 minutes in this game.
It won't. I do want to shout out Keria there, who was able to so valiantly land so many of these skill shots in order to keep T1 in that situation. It was really well played. His Lux, as you mentioned, Wolf, is absolutely amazing. But he's going to have to be at peak form in order to make sure that this one works out. Another worrying sign is the fact that Gumayusi has none of these kills. Extra money on Caitlyn can be so valuable that he's going to have to find some in this mid game if he can. Still, T1 with an advantage. Doran going to try and even that out.
And it all comes down to can T1 find individual picks. In game number 1, that wasn't really the case, but I think that this time, because they do still have a lead, when it comes to gold, they should be able to hold on to map control for a lot longer. And when it comes to picking up individual champions, yes, Gen.G's comp is still strong with Charm and Hook, but T1 can isolate targets with Faker, can have an amazing stun lock situation going on with the Lux, the Caitlyn, and the Viego. And if they're able to find those, or if Zeus can get a big flank, there are still ample of opportunities here. But it's all going to come down to how the team fights go. How is T1 actually going to be able to fight around these dragons? And a lot of it will come down to can Guma and Keria consistently find that prio on the Caitlyn that, even though the kills haven't gone her way, is still very fed in this game.
Absolutely, 30 CS in the lead. Outer turret now under fire. If they get another one, that is huge. Oh, the layering of CC is fantastic with Doran. He takes a drink, and he's going to walk it off now.
And Chovy's going to get top turret, it looks like here, as T1 are completely grouped in mid with no objective up. So the lack of success here on that first turret kill attempt really comes back to bite them. And Doran has done such a good job of buying time here, deleting these minion waves. Now Faker will find one on the bottom side here, some additional farm, that is to say, it was taken out earlier. Can they maybe set up a dive here as Doran decides to come back over? There's no vision here in the jungle for Gen.G.
Oh, forcing a teleport here. Nicely done by T1.
Well, Keria is going to be locked into the wall, just barely mispositioning the cast there is Doran. Could have been deadly. Instead, it was not. As Gen.G going to hold on to their inner turret for the moment. I like the idea for T1. A lot of money in that inner.
Not only if Gen.G mess up and you get the inner, that's big, but it also means that they should be able to get control of the bottom half of the river, shove up the waves. Although we do see now Keria and Guma still had to back, so they will actually be a little bit late here to the objective. Gives Gen.G the opportunity to set up vision, but they are looking for any stragglers. Doesn't seem to be the case, as we know. They obviously doing a thorough check here.
And critically, there's no flash for Zeus. There is flash for Peanut. And these are the two big engaged champions in these compositions, especially for Peanut at range, to look for follow-up here on this Caitlyn. Caitlyn also has flash at this moment in time, but Gen.G not only faster on the Drake here, but arguably the better setup here. Doran can still make an impact without his ult, and it's coming up soon.
Yeah, a lot of vision available though with that Rift Scuttler that it was taken by T1. Zeus in flank position, unseen for now. As Gen.G, this is dangerous. T1 biding their time for the moment. The line of traps has been set up. Faker doesn't find the Q, but he can fish for another one of those in a little bit of time.
Zeus' flash is coming up. That could be the timing they want to engage with the Maelstrom.
Yeah, Loosen Singularity coming down. A fair bit of poke here available as Faker's just going to move in. Peanut gonna have to use that Cyclone. He secures the Drake as they just bring Doran out, but he goes golden. Zay is now in a little bit of trouble, but Peanut is going to burn down. The Lux collects the kill. Thanks to that one, and now Faker is saying it's cleanup time. Can Pace do anything? The answer is definitely, as wow, Faker almost falls down, but still, Hayes going to get locked down by the final spark, and now it's the flanking Lux. The scariest, the most deadly, the life binding from max range. Pays locks down the cannon, but Chovy and Pays is still going to die. Gumayusi grabbing the double.
What a moment here for FaZe to at least trade back the kill. But it's once again Gen G getting the objective, but at a high cost. And T1, their gold lead is multiplying at this point, getting kills like this. And the fact that Peanut is able to secure this Drake is really just a 50-50 essentially as Oner is rotating over. Meanwhile, in live, Doran?
Yeah, Doran looking for Gumayusi. These traps are not going to go down, but he respects the teleport. And it looks like Gumayusi will survive for now. Body slam to get Doran out of there. Not even able to get a control ward. Man, give him something.
And when we fast forward to the future, or if we could, we know if this ends up being worth it or not for Gen G, because this could be huge in terms of setting up for that Soul Point, potentially a fight they'll take very soon. But at this moment in time, looks to be way better for T1. That could come back to bite them later, but at this moment in time, you're thinking advantage T1.
Crucial, there are two things. One, FaZe doesn't actually hit his ultimate. And with that, the Moonlight Vigil, a really big team fighting tool, not available. And secondly, Keria actually gets the kill on Peanut, which is for T1 the sign to keep on going. And there's a reason why Guma and Keria have not been allowed to get this duo. Look at that 100% kill participation between the two of them. And even though the laning phase was somewhat salvaged by Gen G getting an early summoner out of from Guma, when it comes to the team fighting, they're just too clean.
Yeah, they definitely are. And Keria is just so good at Lux. It is crazy. And then Gumayusi always there on the follow-up. Every time those bindings land, the trap is down. Cupcake in position, and someone is on critical health almost immediately afterwards. This duo, fantastic at Siege, but also demonstrated right here beautifully. They are fantastic at locking down single targets, just going for that pick potential. Peanut comes over, clears out some control ward in this Baron pit. And this T1 Baron now up on the table.
Yeah, and this is the amount of control that you really want to have as a Caitlyn Lux in the mid-game. As we're at 21.5 minutes here, T1 have enough control vision-wise here where they can threaten Baron starts. They can safely just push all of these lanes and not be afraid of a wraparound from Chovy or Peanut's flash engage, right? And you have this Lux that's so fragile, we talked about it earlier. Just going to ult for tempo.
Wow!
The ability for a Lux to clear vision from behind is so low, but from ahead she becomes oppressive because not only does she clear vision, but she also can threaten anyone who tries to come in and clear it themselves because there's so much follow-up and so much map control. As you can see here, grouping S5. Chovy's in the side with teleport. So this is what Chovy has been doing this game. He's been top side pretty much this entire time, but T1 are getting more.
Yeah, see whether these answers are actually going to be there as Light Binding collected by Delight, but of course, not going to be too worried about it, has the Titan Wrath shield available. Wave going to crash in this top lane in a turret, so some respite being bought by Gen G for a moment.
Wouldn't be surprised if Zeus actually goes for Death Cap next and just accept that as long as he can trade with FaZe or 4 summoners, he's already winning, right? Because one of the big things here is that I think the Gen G composition, as we get to late, is going to very heavily rely on FaZe being able to do damage. And with the map control that T1 has, and Zeus having Sword, Pen Boots, Void, and his Rocket Belt, he's effectively doing true damage to anyone that doesn't have MR, which Peanut has some on his Mercs, but that's not that impressive. Chovy has a Banshee still, but everyone else is going to get shredded by this cannon. And if FaZe doesn't actually get to do damage, Gen G becomes very reliant on finding early picks. With how the map state is right now, doesn't seem very likely. But what is crucial is this up-and-coming fight, because if Gen G get a soul point, it changes so much of the equation, because you cannot risk an Aphelios getting a Hextech soul.
Yeah, it's massive too, because it buys more time for FaZe to scale up as well. And this is where that last Drake fight that T1 won the team fight in, but Gen G were able to secure with Peanut, it becomes worth it if you can actually secure this. Your position in the game is much more relevant. If you lose this one and it goes to a 2-2 Drake, T1 are just winning in every other regard. So there's a fight you need to win, but you don't have prio whatsoever. That hasn't changed. The T1 have just given up the top side of the map, let Chovy farm there for free. There's no gold for him to get with an outer turret. That was taken out earlier. So it's at no cost to them to just say, we're putting all the focus on bottom side here. We have Baron Vision. You couldn't do that. Chovy can't make any plays topside. Now we're on this Drake, and you deny this one, you're in such a good position.
Well, Light Binding not going to find the target as now Gumayusi not going to get snared. Absolutely fantastic play here by Gumayusi defensively on this Caitlyn. And the thing that I want to talk about, guys, is the fact that last game we had him on the poke Varus, oh sorry, the on-hit Varus that was just getting picked off left, right, and center. Now he has massive range. He is a late game monster on this Caitlyn. we're going to see him going up against FaZe
Baron,
very evenly this time. As yeah, we're looking for it, but the Drake is just going to be given over. 2 apiece for both of these teams.
And
Keria checks it.
Yeah, you can sense the desperation there from Chovy as well, where he uses his ult. Guma doesn't even have to use Guild Force. Like, he has Guild Force, he has his Flash, right? Doesn't
just
need
needed
to use
a
any
net.
of them. That's all he needed. And it showcases Gen G without control. Going to be very reliant on either hard engaging through Doran and Delight, but that wasn't really an option there. And Chovy trying to get something going doesn't work, and the positioning of Guma has been one of the reasons why this Cade lane, as of right now, is undefeated.
Faker is just constantly following him around in the jungle here. Whenever there's a moment where they don't have vision, I think Peanut or Chovy might be in the similar area. Faker's just making sure, shadowing him, that he's not going to get picked off, so he can just continue to freely farm. And that mobility we talked about he already has. He has Flash still because he's under no threat. It's just really easy for them to say, okay, now we have 2 Drakes, and if nothing goes wrong here, this game is just on the path to our victory, tying it up 1-1. And they can come over here, clear up some more Baron vision, and continue to actually now play around top side since the Drake is already taken.
Well, Gen G with full information of what's going on in the Baron. Of course, they have faced T1 many times before, so they know that if it's past 20 minutes, T1 are going to do Baron. Like, if it's on the map, that's where they're going to be. That is their #1 priority. Delight going to hook nothing, just checking to see whether anyone is sitting in the brush. Opportunistic hooks, you love to see it.
Yeah, free farm here for Zeus, and he buys that first rod. And he is in a great position damage-wise here. If he goes for the death cap, as you mentioned, Chronicler. And he's just sitting there buying these components. Now they're grouped up for Baron, and GG has to respect this, and they could just back away. They have teleport for both of their solo laners here. There's so many things that Gen G has to deal with all at once.
And 2 factors here. 1, the spikes. Faker just getting his Stone Blades, Guma getting his IE. If you thought he chunked before, just wait until you see him land some autos as there's the Baron.
Yeah, immediately they started up as soon as they get that control ward down. Information now given. Peanut on vision now as Doran finds the flank. Can he get it? There it is! The delivery, but Gumayusi still alive for so long, but Chovy will be able to take him down. Pace still alive, flashes away from Oner. And in the backline, it is Havoc being wrought on T1. Another charm will connect. Faker is incredibly tanky, though, as now Doran has to get out of there. We need to see the carry from you. Pace is over the wall. Is Keria the final spark? Is avoided, and Pace will do it. Picks up the double kill, and can Gen G now get the Baron? I think they've turned it around.
He's popping off here. His positioning is so good. He avoids the ultimate there from Keria. And once you are able to secure that pick onto Guma, the fight becomes so simple. FaZe lives, T1 lose that fight, and that's going to be Baron. And there's nothing that Keria can do to look for a steal here. But the performance of this player who's looking for his first title here in his first tournament is just phenomenal.
And it's Pace that knocks him down, but it's Doran again that sets it up. This man deserves so much credit for being, and I think fairly so, considered the weak point of Gen G. And look at this engage.
When your coach is Score, you can do things like this on Gragas, Chronicler.
And Faker just so desperately wishes he could have blocked that charm, but he's just not able to. I think that Guma dies regardless here. Peanut buys so much space here for Pace on the right side of the fight, and while Faker is tanky, once he all-outs, Pace can delete him.
Oh my, and Pace actually using the loss of the Serum on the wave to completely heal up. Stays alive.
The slightest of sidesteps to avoid the final spark that would have been so much damage. Don't know whether it would have been enough to kill, but still, that movement absolutely amazing from this player who's under so much pressure. In this game, even more than game #1, as the gold lead now moving ever so slightly in favor of Gen G, but still, 2 minutes left on the Baron, 58 seconds on this Hextech Drake, soul point for both of these teams, and we have to reiterate, if you get Hextech Soul with either of these compositions, you basically win the game.
Yeah,
that is how
it's
it
game ending. And the Baron buff here should be able to guarantee that Gen G end up having prio for this. There should be almost no way T1 takes this. And I mean, right now, at this moment in time, T1 are faster grouped for this. And Gen G, I mean, this is a fight you need to win, and you're not going to have that same opportunity that you had last time. It's very unlikely that you're going to delete the enemy AD carry instantly at the beginning of the fight, so you still need to be able to prove you can win a 5v5 fight even if you can't pick that AD carry. Now they're setting up that prio. The Drake is spawning here at 15.
Oh, and T1 desperately want to hold on to this mid lane turret because it gives Guma so much safety, and in general, T1 way easier to fight for mid prio. But do note that it does cost them a bot lane turret. Chovy gonna have his Shadow Flame available. 4 items on
Level
this
17.
Ahri. And this is such an important fight here. If Gen.G can get soul points, T1's game becomes so much harder.
And Faker is 2 full items behind this Ahri, and of course they are cheap items that Chovy has built this time around, but still, he does have a huge advantage. Soul point now on the table, they do so much damage to this Drake, but T1 not going to go down without a fight, as it is going to be secured by Gen.G. They look for the flank, but the hook is going to connect, the charm connects as well, and Faker is just obliterated. And Gen.G are going to be able to just walk out. T1 no response to this Dragon.
Kind of a bizarre fight here for T1 because you're trying to flank on one hand as Faker, but the collapse is so easy from Gen.G. That's exactly how they wanted to take out the K'Sante, is just collapse on him. You set up a trap, so you've discouraged Gen.G from moving left in this fight. And in fact, once they take the Drake, they're naturally going to move towards Faker, who's then spotted and collapsed on. And T1 just looking very desperate. Even Guma trying to look for the Q here for a potential steal, but you're not bars this time.
And what's crucial here,
Oh, we got another fight in live here as the outer turret is going to be taken. Keria just demanding the respect on this Lux, is going to be able to get himself out. The Everfrost, absolutely fantastic, but Faker, he is respawning now, but they will take 2 turrets off the back of that. 1 inner still remains, but that is it for T1 of these outer turrets.
And we have seen, again in the series against KT, that T1 have the ability to come back from deficits. In the KT series, they were down even further. Faker found a miracle play. But with how the game is going right now, anything short of that, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Gen.G's composition plays out so nicely, right? You have a beefy front line. You have so much damage. Both your AP damage between Doran and Chovy are very hard to deal with. But then you also have a monster-fed Aphelios here in Paze. And for them to actually be able to deal with anything while also staving off a Hextech Soul is incredibly hard.
It is, and also the damage, like, I like what Zeus is doing with his build, right? This is maximizing the amount of damage that you can do, but Paze is going to be a bruiser. We've said this so many times. I don't think 100 to 0ing this guy on this Aphelios is going to be as easy as find a flank as Doran. He's going to do just that. Gumayusi does QSS though, as Chovy finds the angle, doesn't find the charm though, as now Faker is looking to protect his teammates, but Zeus is going to be picked off, and now Faker's going to get body slammed. Chovy is just dancing around the fight, but Moonlight Vigil crucially goes wide, and Gen.G will have to back away.
We've seen these teleports from Zeus before. This is not the one you want. I mean, Gen.G might be able to push to grab this inhibitor here off of this play, and Gen.G once again just striking back. Doran coming into the mid lane. They might be able to look for even more here. Guma's respawned, but they've got a wave.
Who is this Doran?
I have no idea.
Where has he been? Where did he come from?
I think he read Reddit. He made the mistake last night, and he heard what people were saying. And he's like, well, I'll just have to show you, as Faker looks for the Q, doesn't find it there on a Paze. He's going to connect his though, does a bit of damage back as the cask, just to try and disengage here from T1. And Gen.G, I mean, their wallets are so thick right now, they'll go back to base and they'll send Boris to collect his wares.
And until this moment, I was going to say it's still winnable for T1. I think there's still a chance, as this is missed time from Keria. Doran's able to get on top of Guma, who immediately QSS's, but he's now out of the fight. Chovy is behind enemy lines, and Zeus, with this mistake of teleporting into the fight to try to turn it, it's already over. It's done. There's nothing you can do, and Guma, he doesn't have to flash critically. But before this, I was going to say, there's flash on Guma, Zeus has flash engage. The next fight should be T1's if they play it correctly, but it's their last chance. But they don't even get that chance. Doran says no.
One thing that's big is no flashes on Doran and Pace. So T1, if they can use that, maybe they can try and contest for this Soul. But if Gen.G takes a Baron before that, no contest is going to be possible.
Yeah. And if that's the 5-head play wolf, then oh my goodness,
this has to be
imagine
the
that,
one
like,
fight.
do anything to get Paze's flash so we can win a team fight and get a Baron. But let's see whether they can do it, as Peanut looking for that flank angle already. Faker soaking so much damage, has to flash to get himself out, as there is another cast to get the mini stun. They collect him with the anchor. Absolutely amazingly done from Delight and from this Gragas, as Faker goes all out, but he's going to have to get out, but he's not going to be able to. Chovy picks up that kill. Oner's going to pick up a minion wave to desperately try and save the base, but it's not going to save them from the wrath of this Gen.G Baron.
Easy Baron pickup here now for Gen.G. And once again, this is the fight that T1 had to win. They had to win it, but they're picked. Faker's off on his own. Zeus dies.
And that's that.
It's not just Baron. There are Hextech gates on the map. They can go straight towards a Hextech Soul, and Genji might be looking to go up 2-0 as Delight starts up the fight. But T1, you can feel, what do they do from here once they've lost control with this composition?
And unseen in this fight really is how much Peanut did without pressing any buttons. Just by pushing Guma away, there's no peel. Faker's alone. He gets basically 100-0. He survives for so long. And Zeus is like, I'm trying to set up the ult, so then I can have my Caitlyn come through and I have Faker there. But Faker's so low, he instantly then dies when he's caught by the Nautilus ultimate from Delight. And Guma's just not even in the fight. Doesn't matter how many items you have if you can't actually do damage, because T1's front line, or rather Gen.G's front line, is too immense, and your front line is getting decimated.
And that's a free Hextech Soul, gentlemen. This is so much power for Gen.G. It's as close to Exodia as you can get without an Elder, which is the silliest thing I think I've ever said.
They should be able to push to end.
And now they're looking for it. They do have traps set up, but this mid lane is completely open. Doran and Peanut able to freely move in. Right now, T1 holding the line as best they can. Oh, that is just gigantic damages. Guma is going to be picked off yet again. Zeus trying to defend. They blow up Peanut before he can really do anything, but the base is still in shambles. Doran in trouble. Can they get that pick off as well? That would be huge. But oh my goodness, Pei's every auto attack is just doing 1,000,000 damage.
Not to mention that he can proc the Hextech with his Calibrum so easily here, and he's just constantly keeping T1 at bay, so even though they almost get the kill on the Doran, the follow-up is just so difficult. The power of Hextech Soul. T1 at least survive.
Oh, Moonlight Vigil comes down. Okay, Keria, can he survive? He's like, I'm just clearing vision here, guys. I'm clearing vision, just let me do my job, okay?
Surviving, though, is not the goal. It's not the win condition here for T1, and dropping 2 games in this series. Zeus is 1-6. It's the elephant in the room. He's been caught so many times this game.
Well, Chovy's inside the Baron pit, but Faker all on his own. Delight in position once again. The charm's gonna land. The dredge line's there. He mitigates the CC. Goes all out against the Nautilus. Can Faker survive this? There are so many Gen.G members bearing down on him, and Faker accepts his fate. He needs to get into that death chamber as soon as possible so that he can be out to defend.
Feels like we might have an upset on our hands if this continues, gentlemen.
It's
either that or Silver Scrapes, Wolf. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there are 2 outcomes here. Either we get one of the sickest finals of all time, and T1 bounce it back, or Gen.G, unanimously agreed upon to be the heavy underdog here today, are going to take a commanding lead.
And maybe we see a Royal Rotor.
We could. Pace, and if he does it in 3, oh my God, Doran, he finds it again! The body slam flash double kill for Chovy. Keria, nothing he can do about it. And that is going to be Gen.G sealing the deal on this game number 2. And T1, they are not out of it yet. There is still